What's up, guys? It's Jeb, and I just finished going through every single NBA player on the SoRare marketplace to find the best buy low and sell high plays for game week 9. Now, if you don't have a SoRare account, go ahead and check out my affiliate link in the description below for an exclusive deal so you don't miss out on the fun. Please remember that this video is not financial advice. Smash the like button and make sure you're subscribed to the channel. Now, our first buy low is a player who is old, washed, declining in skill, a complete clown, and is much more of a harm than a help to his team, both on and off the court at this point in his career. He's quite possibly one of the most overrated players in recent NBA history, and that is none other than Draymond Green. Draymond Green has a cap of 25 and a floor price just above $4. And after that negative intro, you might think, why would I think a player that I think so little of is a buy low? While I think Draymond is nothing but a system player and a fake tough guy, I also recognize that he currently is the second best player on the Warriors. And that's not because Draymond is turning back the clock and playing the best basketball of his career. It's just the fact that the Warriors are a dumpster fire. And on SoRare, at least, Draymond has shown that he not only has a high floor, but has some pretty decent ceiling potential. That, combined with his low cap, as well as the fact that his card is the cheapest it has ever been, seems like a no-brainer when it comes to a buy low. Not only do I think he'll be in some optimal lineups in the near future, but I'm pretty comfortable calling the bottom here and scooping up one or two Draymonds. Now, in contrast to our first buy low, our second buy low is a player that I absolutely love. Not only is this player a real tough guy, but I'd say he's one of the more beloved NBA players universally. And on top of that, I think he might be the most underrated sixth man in the NBA currently. And that player is Bobby Portis. Bobby Portis has a cap of 26 and a floor price just above $9. To start things off, I think Bobby Portis has a very high floor. He is a walking double-double and will get you 10 points and 10 boards almost every game. On top of that, he's a hustle player who plays hard on both sides of the court. Not only is he getting that offensive board and put-back dunk, but Bobby Portis is the type of player who is diving on the floor to secure that steal. And as you know, steals and blocks on SoRare come at a premium. Additionally, very early into the season, Bobby Portis has shown some ceiling capabilities by putting up a couple of SoRare scores that have doubled his cap. And if all that isn't enough for you to go and pick up a Bobby Portis card, Jay Crowder of the Bucks was recently injured and will be out for at least 2 months. And Bobby Portis has been the main benefactor when it comes to picking up those minutes and usage. Overall, Bobby Portis is not only that spark plug that comes off the bench and rallies a team, but he's one of those few players who also has the skills to back that up and be the one leading the charge during a comeback. At the very least, for these next 2 months, I think Bobby Portis will be an evergreen play game week to game week, and that's why I think he's an incredible buy low right now. The third and final buy low of this video is a player who is not as exciting or sexy as our first two picks. However, I think he's in a very unique situation that is worth paying attention to, and that player is Nick Richards. Nick Richards has a cap of 20 and a price just below $4. Now, this video might be the first time in your life you're learning about Nick Richards' existence, and that's totally fine. He's a backup center for the Charlotte Hornets who hasn't done anything particularly significant this season. However, there are 2 reasons I want to take a closer look at him today. 1, in the limited minutes Nick Richards has been given, he has shown that he can produce. Not only has he established a pretty decent points floor for a player in his position, but he has also shown that he has ceiling capability, which is something we're always looking for. 2, before the season started, Nick Richards wasn't the definitive backup for the Hornets. But then Kai Jones was cut from the team. Now we're a couple weeks into the season, and Miles Bridges is playing for the Hornets despite all the allegations of domestic violence against him. There's some additional examples we could talk about, but in general, I think you get the idea that the Hornets roster at best seems a bit shaky. And I think it is totally possible that Nick Richards gets some serious opportunity windows as a result. Whether Miles Bridges is kicked out of the NBA or the Hornets experience injuries throughout this long season, it seems like Nick Richards has multiple paths to getting significant increases in minutes and usage. And like we said, in the limited opportunities that he's been given, he's shown he can produce. That's the exact type of player that I'm always looking to buy low on. Moving on from our buy lows, let's go ahead and talk about some of our sell highs. Starting with the player whose price has been propped up despite the horrific start to this season. And that player is Klay Thompson. Klay Thompson has a cap of 21 and a floor price above $13. Now, tying this back to our first buy low, Draymond Green, Klay Thompson is $9 more expensive, despite the fact that they have similar caps, and Klay Thompson has not shown any ceiling capability to start this season. In fact, you can't even trust Klay Thompson to have a consistent floor. Even when Draymond Green's having a bad game, he will put up a SoRare score of around 20. Meanwhile, Klay Thompson's last 2 games, he's dropped a 12 and an 8. And if you're watching these games, Klay Thompson looks like an absolute shell of himself. Not only did he go from being the best defender on the Warriors to being a liability on defense, but he just cannot hit any of his shots that he used to. Personally, I'm shocked that Klay's price has remained as high as it is, despite his consistently lackluster performances. But I think SoRare managers are just holding on to him, hoping he returns to the old Klay. While that's totally possible, I personally don't think it's worth the risk. I think you take those $13 and run. There are a lot of better players that you can buy for cheaper, including all 3 of the buy lows we talked about today. And if you want to stick with the Warriors, like we said, Draymond Green is $4 and is the second best player on the Warriors right now. Even if you truly believe in your heart of hearts that Klay Thompson is going to figure it out and return to form, I think there will be a very large window where you can buy Klay much, much cheaper. Moving on to our next sell high, we have a player that has shown time and time again that he does not want to play basketball. So in my opinion, there is no reason you should play him in your SoRare lineup, and that is Ben Simmons. Ben Simmons has a cap of 23 and a floor price just below $10. Now, if you've watched this channel at all over the last 3 years, or listened to the Shot Tank podcast, or seen me pop up as a guest on some sort of live stream, you'll know that I've been so out on Ben Simmons since day one. Despite all the incredible footage we get of Ben Simmons hitting threes and dunking the ball every offseason, I'm very proud to say that I've never been fooled. I think it is abundantly clear at this point that Ben Simmons has absolutely no work ethic and has the mental toughness of a Taco Bell soft shell taco. He has repeatedly done interviews and even done longer form content like JJ Redick's podcast, and it is crystal clear that this man is beyond delusional. Now, I could go on for another 30 minutes about what a loser and waste of talent Ben Simmons is. But ultimately, he's sticking to the routine that we're far too familiar with, where he plays a couple of games, shows some promise, people get their hopes up, and now he's injured again. And I'm not trying to be dismissive of player injuries in general. I know a lot of players put their bodies on the line day in and day out and are rarely 100% when they're on that court. But at this point, I think we can all see the pattern with Ben Simmons, and the fact that you can get $10 for his card at this point is an actual miracle. Once again, similar to Klay, if you sold Ben Simmons right now, you could use that money and buy any of the buy lows we talked about in the first part of the video. Personally, I just don't want to own a card of a player that doesn't even want to be on the court. So better to take that $10 and buy a player that does. Now, the final sell high in this video is a player that I think a lot of people, including myself, were excited to see make the leap this season, especially considering he would probably be the #1 guy, at least for the first half. However, despite a couple solid performances, I think most people would agree that this player has massively disappointed. And that player is Jaren Jackson Jr. Triple J has a cap of 35 and a floor price just below $25. Like I said, I think a lot of people thought Jaren Jackson Jr. would take that next step into becoming an NBA star with Ja Morant suspended. As a result, Triple J would see an increase in usage and have some real ceiling opportunity in SoRare this year. However, I think more than anything, all the injuries that have stacked up for the Grizzlies have just proved to be too much for Jaren Jackson Jr. to overcome. At this point in his career, it's no secret that Triple J is not the best rebounder, and despite the fact that he's the defending Defensive Player of the Year, has a bit of a tendency to get into foul trouble. On top of that, Triple J is much more comfortable at the power forward position as opposed to playing true center. But with injuries to key big men on the Grizzlies, such as Steven Adams and Brandon Clark, Triple J has unfortunately had to step into that center role and has not thrived. And while he's put up a couple decent ceiling games, his last 4 games have been atrocious as he has not cracked 20 SoRare points. In general, the Grizzlies have just been way worse than anyone thought they would be, and obviously injuries play a big part in that. And look, whether it's the fact that Triple J is having to do too much, or the fact that he's having to play center, or the fact that some of his weaknesses are getting exposed and exploited, at the end of the day, he just doesn't look like the Jaren Jackson Jr. that was dropping monster SoRare scores last year. And with such a hefty price tag attached to his card, I think taking the money and using it elsewhere is the way to go. Similar to what we said with Klay Thompson, if you really believe in Jaren Jackson Jr., I think there will be plenty of opportunities to buy him at a much lower price. So go ahead and do yourself a favor and sell high. And just like that, we've covered our 3 buy lows and 3 sell highs going into game week 9. If you made it this far in the video, thank you so much for watching. I've been getting a lot of comments from people saying they really enjoy this series, and I'm going to try to crank them out as quick as possible. So thank you to everyone who's liked the videos, subscribed to the channel, and left comments, because it really motivates me to dig deeper and find some of those best buy and sell plays. With that being said, let me know what you think about the picks for this week. Do you agree with them? Do you disagree? Are there picks you like better? Is there someone else you're eyeing that you're not sure about? Let me know. Let's talk about it. Otherwise, thanks again for watching, and I'll see you guys next video. Please clap.